Hi everyone, welcome back to Faraday Academy and to another interview live stream. If you're here and excited to hear about open source, then say hi in the chat. Give this video a thumbs up. Hi everyone. Hi Nut, hi Jared, hi Code Stacker. It's good to see all of you today. So I'm here with a special guest today who is Eddie Jaoude. Is that how I pronounce it? Okay.
That's very good, yes.
Awesome. So it's hard in English to do 3 vowels in a row, but I tried. So he basically has a YouTube channel, which I linked below, which is all about open source and encouraging people to get into open source and promoting open source in different kinds of ways. So I'm really excited to have him on the channel because, you know, I'm a big proponent of open source and contributing, and in my book and resources, I always talk about contributing to open source. So do you want to introduce yourself and tell everyone why you really encourage other people, not just yourself, but other people to get into open source development?
Sure. So hi everyone. Gwen, thank you so much for having me on your awesome channel. I'm really excited to be here. So my name's Eddie and I am another YouTuber and I love talking about open source. Those of you who know me, I'm always talking about open source and I want everyone to get a little bit of background about me. So I've been in development, I've been a full stack developer for over 15 years now. And yeah, I probably sound quite old. In the last 5-6 years, getting more into DevRel, doing more open source and encouraging other people to do that. And the reason why I think open source is so important, it's such a great way to learn, network, upskill yourself. It's kind of the same as learning, and also, you know, get the job and money that you deserve. There was a great question in the chat, and we'll come back to that in a bit about how to make money from open source. So I do think it's really important. And also, what I love about open source is I believe it's for everybody. I really do. It doesn't matter kind of where you're from, what your experience is, if you're a coder or not a coder, it doesn't really matter. And to be honest, open source doesn't care either.
Yeah.
It doesn't care what you're wearing, how much you earn, where you are in the world. All open source cares about is that you visit once in a while, just occasionally, you know, do a small contribution. And in the micro, you might think, well, if I'm making a small contribution, fixing a typo here, adding an extra step there or a sentence there to help documentation, but it's not that valuable. But if you think of it in the macro, it's actually really valuable because it's like brushing your teeth every day. If you brush your teeth twice a day, but if you forget once, your teeth aren't going to fall out. But over the months and years, the benefit is huge. So I think that it's really important for people to realize that they shouldn't think about doing open source for a whole weekend and then do anything for a few months. They need to do little and often.
So why is it better to do a little bit at a time? Because sometimes context switching is difficult, right? So if you do one weekend and then I guess you said forget about it for months and then do another day or another weekend or something, why is it better to do a little bit every day or a little bit every week?
That's a great question. Actually, I think there's two benefits to that. One is it doesn't seem like a chore. If you did kind of 30 minutes, an hour a day, or whatever time people have, then they're adding value to the community, to their project really quickly. As in, when people say, oh, you're missing an issue template or a pull request template, I'm going to write something and come back weeks later with 20 lines, which might be good 20 lines, but the community and the projects have to wait weeks for that, and it's harder to review it. Whereas if they just did one line, even just thank you for your contribution in the pull request template, for example, that's already giving value back immediately. And it might not sound like a lot of value, but when you have no template, it is a lot of value. And then you can just add a line every now and then, and other people then can get ideas and can add to it also. And then the other benefit would be when people look at your GitHub profile to see if you're the right person for the job or project, etc., it's good for them to see little pieces of work and improvement and see continuous activity. Because open source, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and when I look at other people's open source projects, I'm not just looking for their best code. I look for two things. One, so when I'm hiring for my clients, I look for two things. One, I think what they are now. No, I should know what they are. I look for, are they collaborative? How do they reply to other people's comments? How do they leave comments to other people? That's really important. Do they have the right attitude more than the skill? And then also, I do look at their latest code, but I'm not looking, is it the best code I've ever seen? All I really care about is their code better than it was 3 months ago? Because it shows that they're learning and improving.
That's interesting. Do you think a lot of companies think like you and look for improvement in code and kind of consistency? I mean, those are really good things to look at in someone's GitHub repo, and I like that you're doing that. But do you think that there are a lot of, I guess, hiring managers and companies that look at those two things?
That's a fair point. I think more and more companies are becoming aware of that. So my clients are from like fintechs to high street banks to government departments, and slowly educating them, and so are other people in my community, in my network. So I think we're slowly getting there. We're not there yet, and that's why it's really good for everyone to get ahead of the curve.
Okay. So you're saying, I mean, basically GitHub is pretty much used as a portfolio anyway, which is why they added the README feature and all those other things. So it's basically a portfolio. And I guess if you weren't working on open source, you'd really have nothing in your portfolio because it would all be private, right? So what's the benefit of working on other people's open source or community open source versus just your own personal portfolio projects? Like if you're a new developer or you're getting into development, why should you contribute to other people's projects? Because you already have your own projects that you're working on,
I'm loving these questions. They're brilliant. They're so valuable. They're really good. So thank you so much. It's important to do both because I think different skills are needed for both. So, for example, having your own project and contributing to your own, people might submit pull requests and issues to your project, and I think it takes a different mindset to do that. And then when you're contributing to someone else's, you've got to kind of pay attention to their rules and their standards and so forth. So I think it's important to do both. And if people find it easier to start on their own projects, then start there. If people find it easier to start contributing to someone else, then start there. Whatever is the easiest to do, get started. One of those things that once you get started, it gets easier and easier, and you'll meet other people and you'll chat to other people and you'll learn more and you just want to. So whatever it is that gets people started, they're more comfortable with, definitely do that.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the comments.
The chat's going really fast. Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, so many great questions. It's really good that I'm not the host on the stream, so I don't have to worry too much about the chat. But I'm going to try and catch up on it.
It's mostly people saying hi, people being friendly, which is always a good thing. They said the stream is glitching a little bit. I saw it flash a few times, but I don't think it seems like too much of a problem. I think the real problem was me without headphones, which is now fixed. So.
Okay, I've got headphones in as well.
Okay, so Mansur Analytics said scope in open source as compared to digital marketing. I'm not even sure what that means. Do you know what that means?
So I think I do, and feel Mansur, write some more if I get this wrong. But DevRel and developer relations is becoming more and more popular, where there are developers who write blog posts on tutorials, live streams, videos, etc., tweets, and so the gap is being bridged between kind of marketing developers. And there's a whole DX coming out now, which is developer experience. So for example, when one of my clients said, oh, should we use this product or this product in open banking? It's a UK thing, and I hadn't seen either of them before, and I automatically gravitated towards one of them. And they said, but why? You haven't done the research yet. I said, I will do the research, but I know that there's A and B. Say A, were at Hackathon, they sponsored it and had the developers there, so they really care about the developer experience using their product. And so I think it is more important to do kind of the marketing side of development. I think a lot of people are doing that already without even realizing. They might just do it on their own personal Twitter account.
Like developer evangelists and stuff like that?
Exactly, yes. evangelist, dev role. They're all kind of related. There are slight differences. I have a video on my channel with a group of dev rails talking about the differences from the flyless community,
Cool.
because I think they're the same and other people think they're different. But yeah, it's similar-ish.
Okay. So Jared asked, and I think this is a good question, how can you convince your company to release internal projects as open source early when the company wants to wait until it's ready?
That happens everywhere, so it
Yeah.
is very normal. All lots of companies say when it's ready. Well, if it's a project, which I'm sure it is, even if it's documentation, code, or mix of both, it's never going to be ready because there'll be a version 1 and version 2, and there's always improvements happening to it, bug fixes, features, etc. So it's never going to be ready. And if the company waits till it's ready, I mean, people do this on their personal projects as well. They'll say, "Oh, I'll put it public when it's finished," but they're missing out on most of the benefits. It's like, I'm trying to think of an example, but it's people want to go on a journey with you. No one's going to contribute or join a project that's finished or archived because it's complete.
Yeah.
It's people want to come on the journey and get involved early. Some people want to join a bit later when it's more established. Some people want to join early, which is also fine. But by joining early, you get the benefit of the community getting involved, the community reviewing it, even the community giving ideas. So on my open source projects, some people don't contribute code or documentation, but they raise issues and ideas, and that sparks interest, and that's really useful.
That's
So
what I
really
always hope for on my projects. I'm like, please raise an issue.
And I think that's really important. There's so much value in that. They still get the green square for that day on their GitHub activity, so definitely chase those green squares.
Yeah.
But it's good practice to write a good issue. So when I do a live stream and I ask people to raise an issue, and if I get 3-4 issues raised about the same bug or feature or something like that, before I take the first one and close the others. Now I don't. Now I choose the one that's written the best, that has the better description. And so I think it encourages people to write a bit more of a useful description. I'm not talking about a whole story, but at least something with a screenshot and a link and a bit more information.
Cool. Now I feel shameful about some of my issues. Well, mostly the issues I write on my own repos because they're mine, and so I'm like, do this, and that's it. But yeah, I need a better description. I'm gonna get to all these questions, but Dear Edge said, "Hi, how are you?" No, he said both of my favorite YouTubers together. So I'm really happy to be lumped into the same boat and have some overlap with your cool channel. So that's awesome. So I want to build off of what Jared said, because couldn't you bring up with the company, like, there are huge companies now, like look at Microsoft and what they're doing with open source and how it's changed the dynamic of the company, and more developers want to work there now. It's expensive and really difficult to find developers, so it's actually a really smart move for them, I think. So couldn't you somehow bring that up when you're negotiating with your company to work on and release open source and put resources into open source? What do you think about that?
I think showing them the benefit, and I think a lot of these companies, the people higher up, the decision makers, don't really understand open source. They kind of get the gist. For example, for a high street bank I was working with recently, spent months trying to convince them to release their project as open source. They were all on board. And at the end, they still said, "But I don't want people to have access to our data." And I was thinking, but I've given you a demo of how it works. They don't have access to the data. It is just the code. But I think a lot of these people have the old mentality mindset, and they don't understand it. They don't understand, like you said, the benefit of hiring good people. Hiring good people is really hard. There's loads of good people out there, but there's just so many layers between us or the company and them that sometimes they don't kind of just meet at the right time. Whereas if you have an open source project and people are contributing to that, the first place I'm going to go when I'm hiring for one of my clients is to go look at their open source project and find out who are the main contributors and ping them all the messages and say, look, you've contributed, you obviously know the project, I like what you've been doing, do you want to get paid to do this some more? And it usually works out really well.
That's
true.
So
I think hiring is really important, and it's a painful process. I think companies realize it's painful, so I think that will kind of make them ears perk up a little bit.
I've heard that at conferences too, like when I talk to different developers, because a lot of the developers, or at least the ones I seem to talk to at conferences, are senior developers, and they say that when they're putting new technologies into a new platform, they look at people who have contributed to those technologies, and then they go out and try to hire them. So it is a really great way to kind of network also, and hopefully, get considered for a job. And anyway, even if you don't get a job directly from it, indirectly, people are looking at your GitHub and it becomes part of your portfolio. So,
Absolutely, I can't agree more. Most of my client work, projects and contracts, etc., have all been via GitHub. They haven't been via any other platform. And so people contact me and say, oh, we like what you're doing. We've got this role. Do you think it's suitable? And it allows me to do a bit more, strict in my negotiations as well, because I've got something that backs it up, and they've come to me. So I can't emphasize enough for people to contribute to open source. It doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be, hours and hours a day, but it will really help you stand out from everybody else on the crowd.
Just a little bit. That's interesting because I do all these different kinds of productivity, trying to organize my day, especially as a consultant. So I think it would be really beneficial for me and probably for a lot of people to have, because I set up these, I guess, anchor points in my day. Like I always eat lunch at the same time, almost always. So it's like before lunch, I can do something because I'll remember it because I know, okay, I have to do this before lunch. So after lunch, I could do something. So I could set up, 15 or 30 minutes, let's say after lunch, and say, okay, when I finish lunch, I'm going to go do this and work on this open source project. So that would be, a reasonable amount of time where I don't feel like I don't have time for it, and I could reasonably fit that in every day. So I understand what you're saying about, spacing it out, just doing a little bit every day, and that really adds up.
It does, and imagine like in 6 months, a year, how not only much further your projects would have gone, but you're how much you'll get noticed by other people. And say if you're going to say if you've not you, but someone watching has contributed, or even yourself and me actually included, if we've contributed to an open source project, and then in a 6 months time, we go for a job interview, and our name kind of rings a bell in someone's mind. Oh, I've seen a few commits and pull requests or issues from this person. They're kind of already interested. It's really, I can't express enough that when I don't really have interviews with companies anymore for projects. I feel I have meetings because they already feel they know me because of I probably contributed to their project or even just raised an issue, finding a bug or a defect. And they say, and that's how it breaks the ice. They say, oh yeah, we saw your issue that you raised. It was a really good description. And straight away, I feel I'm already in like a really good position and I feel more comfortable. So I can't, recommend enough. And it's just practice.
Yeah.
It really is just practice. Mohammed's in the chat. There's so many awesome people in the chat. But Mohammed writes the most awesome issues. And in our community, we call him Eagle Eyes because he spots everything. And so, again, he just stands out because of the issues and the great, pull request reviews that he's done. So I think it's important for people to do that. So if you have a company you want to work with, go and find their open source projects. And I think that's the biggest recommendation I can give to people. Just try and get involved in the conversation. Even just reply to a comment, reply to an issue.
Yeah.
And people will just see your name and your activity will just suddenly start appearing on their radar.
Yeah. Have you tried to hire Mohammed yet? No.
I'm working on it. I am actually working on it. He is near the top of the list.
Very cool.
Yes, I'm working at the moment. Good question.
So Ranjith said, this is great. So I look at the code of React.js. It's huge. So he's talking about the React core project. How can someone contribute to it? So real quick, I've looked at this, right? And I've done some breakdowns on my channel of bigger code bases and had to, look at the code base. Oh no, it's like thousands of files. Or when I contributed to Free Code Camp and just looking at it, it took me hours just to get over the stress of looking at all these code and start to step through it file by file. So I'm interested to see what you think about that. Like, how do you get started with a massive project? Where do you even start with that?
That's a really awesome question. I love this one. So I have two recommendations. One, don't get started with that project because it is very off-putting. And I think if it scares someone a bit, then it's going to make it harder for them to contribute, right? As people, we love to do things that we feel we get a reward very quickly. And so I'd recommend contributing to a project that isn't too big, isn't got too much activity. Imagine doing a pull request on, say, the React core, and then a day later it's already out of date, or there's already loads of conflict because loads of other people have done things. And so, and that might happen, that might not. I'm not saying it will, but if it does happen, it will kind of be a bit soul destroying. So I would definitely build up the practice to, fork a project, raise a pull request, follow the project standards, and get used to working with other people and other people's standards. Then, if you use React core, then you should know it. And I would say start with something that either you found a bug or you felt the documentation wasn't quite complete. I would kind of ease yourself in gently. Don't try and jump in the deep end because I think it will backfire a bit.
Yeah.
And then, if you see an issue and by then you would have got more familiar with the project and get involved in the comments and discussions. And then if you see an issue or you raised an issue for a feature and it's going to get done and you want to do it, then I would say in the comment of the issue that you want to do it. I wouldn't sit on it for weeks. I'd make sure that your plan is to kind of get it done quite quickly and get feedback and keep it small. Smaller pull requests are more likely to get merged. So don't think that the bigger the better. It's quite the opposite. And again, it just takes practice to realize that. And it takes, I think, someone raising a massive pull request and it's sitting there and people taking ages to review it. Put yourself, I guess, for everyone watching, put yourself in someone else's shoes. They need to review it. They need time to review it. So if it's 100 lines or 50 lines, you need hours to review it and test it. So I would recommend keeping it small.
So you're saying to make small PRs. So if we break this down into steps, before you make the PR, there should be an issue first that should be discussed, right? And then from the discussion, because if you make this beautiful PR and then the maintainer doesn't like it, then you just wasted all your time. So if you raise an issue and then you discuss that issue, which I'm sure is what you recommend on your channel too, and then you have some kind of a discussion, hey, can we add this feature or this bug? Maybe they already know or they're already working on a fix for the bug. And then if they need that feature or bug or whatever, and that's the outcome of the discussion, then you post in that issue, hey, I'm working on this. And then that's when you make the PR, right? Do you want to add anything to that?
That's spot on. And I'd like to add something small, is that you also get the practice of raising an issue. You also get the extra green square for raising the issue. And like you said, you don't waste your time. So I think there are so much value to doing that. And then people can then track their code against that issue, other conversations, if there's a duplicate. Because if you don't raise the issue, someone else might raise the issue, like you said, while you're working on the PR. And it gets confusing. So raising the issue, anything new that comes afterwards, or if one exists already, people can kind of link the issues together. So that's a really good point. Definitely raise the issue first. Absolutely. Do
you have a whole list of getting into open source, like do this, do that, do that, do that? Do you have like a, I don't know, pamphlet or blog post?
I do. Actually, I have an open source book on open source. So it's kind of like Inception there, but it's a bit out of date. I think I'd like to revisit it and improve it. It's got quite verbose. I've got loads of contributions over the years. I think it's got quite verbose. So I think I would like to maybe start trimming it down a bit. So I do. It's in my GitHub profile. Yes, so do have a look at that, but I think I want to do an updated, newer version. That's something I'm working on with the community, because it's really interesting to see how people interpret things differently in their point of views, and I've learned a lot working in my community, so I can't thank them enough. But we are working on things like that.
Oh, great.
I just want to see if I can find it. Sorry.
Some people are saying that you have an echo.
Oh, I've got headphones on, so it shouldn't do.
Oh, I don't hear any echo, but some people are saying. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to fix it if we both have headphones. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know why.
What do you hear?
Thanks for mentioning Eric. I didn't realize.
Oh yeah, someone else said they don't have it. Someone asked for a link to your GitHub repo. Can you post that in the chat? To your GitHub.
Yeah. To my GitHub
profile, yeah.
Or the book. Okay, to my profile, yeah. I'll put it to my profile. Here we go.
And your book is linked on your profile, right?
Yeah, it's pinned on one of the pinned repos. I don't know if YouTube will block it though.
No, I think I can approve it if it gets blocked.
Okay, cool. I'm just gonna check the Skype settings, make sure it's using the right microphone, but I'm pretty sure it is. I checked it before.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes Skype sneakily changes it to system audio.
No, it should be using the right microphone. Let
Okay.
me just click on adjust settings. I don't know if that's any better now. Put it to more auto.
Oh, someone said that
Better.
it's fixed now. No
Oh,
echo. Okay,
that was
well,
before I clicked it, but I've clicked something, so let's hope it hasn't made it worse. Okay.
okay. So this is a question that actually comes up a lot, and I've seen it come up in your streams before, I think. So your says, I think, do you think open source projects are secure?
I actually think they're more secure because
Mm.
you get more eyes on the project. And again, if you do it from day one, then you're not going to have any mistakes of passwords or private keys being shared in the repo. The dangerous thing about open sourcing a project later when it's finished, I'm doing air quotes, is that someone might have put password in there and you don't know it's in the history and all the rest. So open sourcing from day one makes it more secure for two reasons. One, you won't put anything in there by mistake. And if you do,
Mm.
you'll fix it immediately and reset keys and passwords.
Yeah.
And two, you get more eyes on it. And then people are not going to go through thousands and thousands of lines of code once you publish it all at the end. But if someone's following the project, they will, as more features and code gets added, they might notice something and comment and put it out. I mean, like, again, to mention Mohammed again, we have a quiz platform I built with Andrew, and he spotted an issue that you could get the answers by doing a really complicated set of HTTP inspections. And I don't know how he found this. This is the eagle eyes coming out. But again, if that was private, we wouldn't have been aware of that, and people would have then found the hole and maybe not said anything. But whereas Mohammed raised it, and I say we're able to fix it. It's on my list of things to do.
All right. There's a lot of questions here. So
That's awesome. Keep the questions coming. Love that. I got over 50 people watching according to my YouTube webpage.
I think I should pop these out into the. Oh no! What? I just covered our faces. Wait. How do I do this? How do I change the?
So that's what I love about live streaming. It's
Oh.
really authentic, right?
Well, sorry, nobodies. So anyway, let me just read the questions. I'm not gonna try that again. We're nobodies. By the way, nobodies is like the original live stream buddy of mine, popping into all my live streams for the last 9 months. So shout out to nobodies, almost all of them. So we're contributing to open source projects more valuable than working normal jobs in terms of learning how to write clean, readable code. So what do you think about that?
I think it is the best way to learn. If I understood the question correctly, because you get to work with different people and you get to work with different people's points of views, and so something that you and a colleague might see as easy or straightforward, then someone else with a different point of view or from a different coding language or someone with less experience might say, well, that actually doesn't read well for me, or that isn't clean code to me, because in a different language like Go or Python, we do this. And I think that's where experience comes in, because you get to use different people's point of views, and I think that really really helps.
Mm.
So yeah, it will make being involved in the community in whatever shape or form in open source will really help everybody become a better engineer, I want to say, because you just learn so many different things and you get made aware of different libraries and frameworks, and have some been deprecated, and so there's some new ones, and pros and cons, because people look at things very differently. Some look at it from a security perspective, some look at it from a performance perspective, and it's just so great to have that. So to give you an example, I might go on a little bit of tangent, so you might have to kind of cut me short a little bit. But when I build teams for my clients, yes, most of us are like full stack developers. I really like having people who are new to tech and people who have been around for a long time, because their point of views will be very different. And every pull request has to be reviewed by someone senior and someone junior, because again, they'll look at very different things. And I also like to have it a bit like in the army, where each person in the team has a different responsibility. As in, we're all full stack developers, we're all writing tech code, we're all writing tests, we're all writing documentation. But one person might be more passionate about performance, one might be more passionate about automated testing, and etc. And so they'll look at it from kind of that point of view. And I think that's really important to end up with a better project at the end.
Okay, so it's not necessarily better than working at a job, right? But it's kind of like you need to do both. Or are you
I
saying
think
it's
it's
better?
better, but I think it's better, but I might be
But in
biased.
terms of
Um,
learning, right? Not in terms of, well, of course you need to work at a job
okay.
because you don't get paid for open source. But
You can get paid for open source. Actually, one of the first questions we had. You can get paid for open source, and there's two ways you can. We'll come to that in a second. Just to answer the original question.
okay.
Uh, Better is very subjective. So it depends. Everyone's different. People learn in different ways. Like some
Yeah,
people like blog posts, some people like videos. So I think some people will learn
that's
more
true.
from open source than others. Some people would prefer to have more of a one-to-one mentoring at a job. So
Mm.
it really depends on the person. And I think no matter what person someone is, they will learn from both. So you will learn different skills from both. So I think it's important to do both, definitely.
Okay. So let me move on to the next question so we can get to these. Um, MPP3RC. Yeah, some of these screen names. How would you communicate to the maintainer or the owner of the open source if they don't have enough documentation where the project is not even workable? Missing API key so you can't even work on the UI. So it's basically difficult to work with or contribute to this particular open source project. How do you go about communicating with them or making it better? Or do you just fork it?
I would raise an issue first. I think a lot of people fork it and try and fight through it themselves, and it's kind of like walking through treacle. I would raise an issue and just say, I want to get involved, but there are some challenges around this. I will try to make it better, but will you help me as well? Because you want someone who would help. And a really good way to check this is actually look at the closed pull requests and the closed issues, and not the merged ones. So the pull requests that have been closed and the issues that have been closed, and see, has the maintainer just closed them without a comment? Some projects do that, and I don't think you should contribute to those because it is soul destroying.
Yeah.
Even just raise an issue and then just to close it without any comment. If they comment and say, thank you very much for the issue or pull request, but this is not the feature I want at this time, etc., then you think, okay, they've tried to kind of be inclusive and they want people to contribute to their project. So I would definitely check the closed ones. That's always where I look before I start contributing to a project, just to make sure that they want contributions. Because it's weird that some people don't. They throw their projects out there, but they don't want to kind of have conversations around
Yeah.
it.
I feel like that's an
But
arrogant thing, like, oh, I'm gonna just close this issue or PR because, oh, it's not good enough for me, or I'm not even gonna give the person the time of day or something.
and they don't realize that that has a bad effect on somebody else, so they're less likely to contribute to open source again. And so that's why before you do that, it's definitely worth checking. Also check for a code of conduct. So there are open source code of conducts that people can put on their repos. I think that's really important. So if a repo doesn't have that, the maintainer can do it with a couple of clicks of a button. If they don't do that, then not all the time, but sometimes they might not be interested. I was doing a live stream, and someone raised a code of conduct on another open source project that they wanted to contribute to, and the person did do a reply, but they replied with, "I don't believe in code of conduct. Everyone should fend for themselves," and closed it. And I thought, that's kind of a bit weird. Fend for themselves. It doesn't sound very welcoming, friendly, and
Yeah.
community spirit. So do check the closed issues and see and check for a code of conduct.
Yeah. That's good. And contributing guidelines, code of conduct, those are all really good things. Eric asked you to send him your T-shirt. Is that a special
my
T-shirt?
Iron Man,
Oh,
my Iron Man GitHub T-shirt.
that's cool.
I have so much swag from GitHub. GitHub, thank you so much.
How
I
did
have
you, how
literally
did you
boxes
get
behind
that
me.
much swag? I haven't got any swag.
I think it's from I became a GitHub star, so I got one of these. You probably can't see it very well. The focus, there we go. And they sent me a box for that. I've got like a big GitHub plushie, the Octocat Teddy toy thing, and boxes of T-shirts and so much awesome swag. I love it. My wife keeps stealing lots of it from me, so I have to hide it.
Oh, I think I saw one of your unboxing. Was that you? Your unboxing video?
Yes,
Okay.
that was me
Yeah.
with a rabbit as well, and my wife.
There
Yes,
was
and there is
a lot of stuff, and she wanted some of it.
Well, we're going to do another unboxing video this weekend because we've got another box that arrived from GitHub, which is even a bigger box. And she's going to be opening it, I think, and I'm going to be trying to get some stuff. So I think just contributing to open source, getting involved in the community, helping other people. I think people say, "Oh, I've only been in the industry for like 6 months or 3 months. I can't help anyone." But you got to remember, I think people listening, if you're only a few months or a year or whatever it is into your career, someone is where you were 3 months, 6 months before you. So you can help them. And by helping someone else, you will learn so much. So do just get involved in the conversation. I've learned and seen some amazing things in my community where some people have said, "Oh, I don't know that technology," and I'm really new to tech, but I'll happily listen to your error or your problem. And just by the other person talking through it, they go, "Oh, I've just realized what it is. Thank you so much." And then the person listening has also learned something new as well. So I think getting involved in the conversation just goes so far. It really does.
So how do you well, like, what level did you have to get swag from GitHub?
That's a hard one. I've been contributing for like over 10 years
Okay.
to GitHub. So don't think of it like that because things are changing all the time. I think everyone should just contribute. Think of brushing your teeth. Each time you brush your teeth, go
Okay.
make a contribution. And it's not just about code. It is about more about collaboration and communication. And the code is more secondary.
Yes.
So yeah, I've got a football shirt as well, which was an interesting one that came in another parcel from GitHub. A football shirt that says GitHub on it, and very cool. Very happy with that one.
Nice. All right, so let's get to one more question. So Aditya Chandran, finding an open source project seems too intimidating for newbies. How can we tackle that? I tried contributing to Apache Open Office. Wow, that's huge. And Dev Forum, but it seems like a big code base to work on. Well, it is a big code base to work on. So are there like specific projects or some kind of way? I know you said, oh, bring up issues, find like, I don't know, README fixes or something, small things. But are there like specific projects that you recommend people get started with first?
Yes, definitely. I would recommend people contribute to projects that they're probably familiar with. Don't try and find the project.
Okay.
You can search for good first issue on GitHub and then filter by like JavaScript or Python or whatever you want. So you could do that. But also, if you're familiar with a project, if you're using a library in a dependency, then maybe look at those projects because you'll be familiar with them already. Maybe not completely, but at least it's not completely brand new and fresh to you. And then, funny enough, people are so surprised that once they make a few contributions to one or two projects, then they'll suddenly discover other people and other projects, and it will just start snowballing. And you'll have the problem where you've got a list of contributions that you want to make, and you can make. It's just finding the time to make them. So I cannot recommend enough for people just to get started. Don't try and find the perfect project. Don't try and find the perfect issue, the perfect whatever. Just do something. Worst case is it gets closed and not accepted. I promise you won't die and you'll still be alive. But you will learn from it and you'll meet other people from it. So yeah, just get started. I cannot recommend enough.
Nobody's is recommending people contribute to the library that he wants updated. Nobody's you you can contribute to it too. It seems like you know it as well as anybody else. Michael says, in your experience, is it better to have tooling set in stone at the start of a project or let it change as things evolve? So I want to make a comment with that because I've been following the Free Code Camp project for about 5 years, and the tooling has changed quite a bit over time. It even changed into a mono repo, and then it just evolved. The gulp setup was insane at one point. Maybe it still is, but I'd say the tooling has to evolve with the project, right? Because the project grows and then you realize. So I'd say, like, just in my opinion, make the tooling as simple as you can to get the deployment working, to get the building and testing, whatever you need just initially, and then add in other things. Just do the absolute minimum setup, because otherwise you're never going to get anything done if you don't have the minimum mindset. What do you think, Eddie?
I completely agree 100%. The code base is going to evolve, documentation is going to evolve, and the CI and CD should also evolve as well. So just get something. So say, for example, someone starts a project and they've just, I don't know, used Angular CLI, or I think React's got a CLI as well, and they've just built a skeleton project.
Yeah.
In your package JSON, you probably have like a build command, for example, just to kind of make it into production mode. I recommend someone on their CI like GitHub Actions. I'm a huge fan of GitHub Actions. Then just run that command. It doesn't deploy it anywhere. It doesn't do anything like that. But it just checks that the project builds. And once you've got that file there, then other people can also contribute to it now. Because I think a lot of the time with these kind of great files, by great files I mean like a contributor file, an issue template, or CI file, it's just creating that file, and then other people then start making improvements as the project goes along. So I would always try and have every file there, and like one line or one action in each file, one value I should say, not action because that can be confused with GitHub Actions, but like one value in each file, and then allow people to improve it as you go along. Later on you could add the automated testing CI, you could add the deployment as and when you need to. So yeah, definitely try and do a still thread through your entire project, and just add more fidelity to different parts of the project. Like if you're thinking about doing automated testing, just try and do a hello world automated test, and later on you can kind of work on that more and more. And there are some people who love running tests, so by having that set up, they could just come along and just add more tests to existing features as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, the perfect PR will have code, tests, and documentation, but I appreciate it doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah. If the repo has tests. So as long as you've set up the repo to have tests and documentation, then PRs will hopefully include that.
Exactly.
So is this a question? More people benefit. Okay. Thanks, Diraj. Thanks for all your support in the chat. Let's see.
While you're reading that, Gwen, I'm just going to jump in, and I'm going to say, everyone watching, don't forget to give Gwen's channel an awesome thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell button so you get notified every time she posts an awesome video and live stream, and share it with your friends if you think they'll be interested, because it's an awesome channel, and I think you should watch all her future videos and live streams.
Thank you. I think you got me 3 likes. I appreciate that. Okay, so Mauricio says, does open source exist without TDD? So I think we can all attest to the fact that it does. Could you explain how important tests are? How important tests are important? Oh, okay, it's a typo. Could you explain how important tests are for open source?
I think they're actually really more important for open source, although a lot of prototypes don't have them. And this is where it becomes a little bit dangerous, especially with more business projects, in that a lot of clients say, we just want to build a prototype, we want to just prove it with 10 customers and just make sure it's what we want to do, and then we'll build it properly with tests and all the rest.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time when they get good feedback from their customers, they say, oh, brilliant, let's add more features now. It's like,
and then the tests never come. Every company does that.
Exactly, and a prototype really should be throwaway. So if you're building your own open source project, I recommend to get started, and your tests might come later, but they might not. And if it's your project, it's your decision. But I think if you really want to grow a project and make it easier for everybody else, having those automated tests do really help and add value, because the other people can get feedback sooner. You're laughing, I'm scared.
No, I'm trying to read all the comments. Eric said, I contribute to open source projects during my post-lunch food coma. Is that because I made the comment about anchoring it after lunch? Yeah, maybe after lunch isn't the best time for open source. You're going to read your issues later and be like, what?
But it does happen, right? I think that's important. Like if you look back at your open source contributions, be it a comment, an issue, a pull request, code, you look back like 2 weeks later and you think, oh, who wrote that? That's kind of not very nice. And I think it shows that you've learned something. You'll make a better issue description next time, a better coding change. So I think that's important. But yeah, maybe after lunch and your food coma is not the best time. But everyone works at different times. So I think people should work what suits them. Some people early morning, some people late at night. So whatever works for you. But yeah, just try and do a little and often.
Okay, Jared has asked quite a few questions here. He says, how much effort should be placed into the marketing of an open source library? What is the balance between code improvement and marketing so people find the project. So Jared is actually a prolific open source contributor and has some really popular open source libraries. I think one of his libraries has 500,000 downloads. Uh,
Wow.
so I would be shocked if he doesn't have GitHub swag too. Now I'm just thinking about GitHub swag. But yeah, do you need me to repeat the question now that I distracted you? Or are you ready to answer?
Yeah, she distracted me with swag. No, yeah, it was a balance between working on the project and marketing the project.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I think it's a really good question. I think it's difficult to find that balance, and different projects and even on the same project, but in different timelines along the project, I think it will change. So probably at the beginning, people want to get something like the first version, or not the first version is quite big, the first MVP, minimum viable product out there, and then they want to start marketing it. But I think one thing that I've really learned over the last 10 years is if people's projects are inclusive, as in it has a low barrier to entry, people can kind of get it started and running quite easily and quickly and contribute, and you're welcoming and say thank you very much for the contribution, etc., and you help people, then they become your ambassadors, and they almost then do the marketing for you. So I think it's like TDD. We've got to flip things on the head. I think if people are trying to think about marketing, it doesn't work. People don't want to be marketed to. They don't want to be sold to. But if you help other people, they will do it for you. When someone asks them, "Oh, I need a project to contribute to. What's a good welcoming project?" Aha, I know which one, and they'll on your behalf shout about your project.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. So I want to shout out Vue.js because I think they make it very welcoming for new people to contribute to. So I don't know about React because I haven't looked at that project in years, but Vue.js, Free Code Camp, and a couple projects like that. You don't have to contribute to them, but at least look through the issues and see how they tag their issues, making it easier, like having first timer only or easy issue, stuff like that, to help, the projects like that help people, make it easy to start contributing and kind of pull you in, I guess.
Exactly.
Hi, Nathan Dennis. So Nathan just waved, but they have a cool icon. I think it's Golang, but it's a cute Golang. So.
Oh, it's Nathan from my community as well. I've got quite a few people from my community. I'm really happy to see them here.
Oh, cool. Awesome. So Sam Arbid said, can you... Oh, this is cool. Yeah. I've been waiting to say this. So do you have any live examples of you contributing to open source? Because he asked if you could make a live demo of making a pull request and those kind of things.
I do that all the time. So feel free to subscribe to my channel. I think it's in the description below. I'm always doing pull requests, and I'm actually taking it even further. I'm actually encouraging people on the stream to do pull requests and raise issues and getting green squares for everybody. So yes, I do that all the time. Were they implying to do one now? We can if you want.
I think they wanted one now, but I don't think we have time because we've been almost an hour now and we still haven't gotten to everyone's questions. But yeah, when is your next PR stream? When is that going to happen?
Good question. I have to have a look and see. Probably this Saturday, but if you subscribe to my channel, you'll get notified.
Yes, subscribe to his channel, hit the bell, and then he said Saturday, so make sure you bother him, and he'll do it on Saturday.
Exactly, and it's really good actually. What I love about my community, they know I forget, they know I go down rabbit holes and get distracted, so they do chase me. Like the GitHub Actions live stream today, a few of them nudged me and said, "Don't forget, you got the live stream today. The GitHub Actions hackathon ends tonight, like 12 p.m. PST time. So we've got time to do a live stream." So I did a live stream and looked at people's projects and gave them shout outs and stuff. So I really had so much fun on that. So my community is awesome. So nudge me, definitely nudge me publicly. Keep me accountable.
Yeah. Dheeraj says, I feel like for getting remote jobs, which is pretty much every job now, at least in America and in the West. But they also judge your skills by looking at their GitHub. And he gave X Team as an example. Yeah, so I actually interviewed with X Team, which is funny. I interviewed there a few years ago. And they definitely judge you off of your GitHub. So that's a good thing to point out, is that with everything going remote, fewer things in person. So maybe they are more heavily looking at your GitHub now to judge your abilities and things. Or maybe people are just realizing after all these years, they're just waking up to the fact that they should be looking at the code you contribute.
Code and the way you communicate and collaborate.
Yeah.
It's just the attitude is so important. I think skills can be taught, but attitude is more difficult. If someone has the wrong attitude, as in, I've interviewed people where they've been amazing coders, and when you dig down into their GitHub profile, they're really aggressive when someone comments on their PR, or they're really aggressive to someone else when they create a PR on their projects, and you don't want to work with those type of people. So yeah, that's why it's important just to get involved in the conversation, because that's just as important as code.
So someone asked, and I don't know about this, what upgrades Google has done for open source vulnerabilities and any projects in resolving that part? I'm not sure exactly, Mansur. What does Google have to do with open source vulnerabilities? Do you know what he's talking about?
Not in terms of Google. I know GitHub are doing. They've got a depender bot which checks your dependencies for security vulnerabilities, and on their GitHub's public roadmap, they've got some new features coming out. I've got a video on that,
Okay.
and one of them is where you've got it's checking whether if the versions need to be bumped and upgraded. It can send you a pull request and all the rest. So yeah, there's lots of improvements going around security on GitHub as well. I know other people like Sneak are doing some awesome things. They have an amazing and massive DevRel team as well. So yeah, security is becoming more and more important at the moment, I think, around open source, which is becoming really interesting and really good.
Stefan says there's a Google zero-day project too. So I guess that is to help with zero-day vulnerabilities. I don't know.
I always say Stephen. Stephen, I'm really sorry if I always get your name wrong. Maybe. Stephen knows a lot of things. He's in the DevOps space, and actually he's one of my biggest sponsors on GitHub, so I really appreciate that. But he knows loads of stuff, so Stephen, you might have to write more about that in there. I'm not too familiar with that, so
Okay.
feel free to write more about that. I'd appreciate it.
So Jared also mentioned a few minutes ago, what are things that can deter others from contributing to a specific repo?
I think a high barrier to entry and it not being welcoming, like if you're having a bad experience. So I think if someone raises a pull request on my repos, I always try and get back to them within 12 to 24 hours, even if it's just a comment. Say I haven't got time to review it, I'll at least try and put a comment. Although, Stephen, I'm sorry, yours has been open for like a week. I'm really sorry. But it's lots of awesome work in that pull request. So I have to test a lot of it out. Yes, I would say just kind of have it welcoming, and then people can have a good experience and they will want to do more. So, and I have pull requests that get merged in like 3 months later, and they've been no conflict. They've just been merged 3 months later, and I've forgotten about that project. And it's great that it got merged, but I will unlikely go back to it and do some more work to it. So I think it's kind of like going to a party. If no one talks to you, then they only say bye to you when you leave. You're not going to kind of come back again. So I think it's important to just have that conversation with people.
I saw your live stream where you had convinced a company to move their software, or it was pieces of their software, open source, but it felt like they were still like half in, like they were dipping their toes in, but they wouldn't fully open source the rest of it. So it was kind of weird looking at the repos, because they were like half in, half out, and you were giving them all of these pieces of advice, that some of them that you're giving now. So do you have like, it would be cool if you had a roadmap that just said, as an open source maintainer, or as someone, you made this project, what are all the things that you need to step up, like just step by step, like 1, 2, 3, 4, set up your code of conduct, your contributor guidelines, your license, your README. Do you have those step by step, like a roadmap?
No, but I should.
Yes.
So thank you so much. So this is awesome. I think I should definitely do one, and I have all that information in my head, and I know my community has lots of suggestions around that as well. So we should actually create one.
Yeah.
And because let's do that. So could someone ping me and remind me?
Okay.
Raise an issue.
And because your live streams are great, but they're, it's a lot to parse through, and it would be really nice to have like concise information about like the initial recommendations and how to get it set up and stuff.
That's really true, and I think having it written down, you're right. People can then can then see it, or if it's a short video, people can then kind of watch it rather than live streams really long and there's a lot of discussion. I do agree. So that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
I think I have your GitHub linked in the description, actually. In the
Yes, you do.
description.
YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. I don't have my GitHub.
Oh, sorry.
It's just my name. It's just Eddie Jaoude. That's me on all socials, so I'll just put that in the chat.
Okay.
Find most platforms with just that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll add it to the description after this as well. So.
Thank you. Oh, can I just jump in again? I've just seen a comment by Diraj about the 1st of October. Yes, how could I forget?
Oh, Hacktober.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Hacktoberfest. So everyone get practicing in the next 2 weeks. There's Hacktoberfest where you can get swag. I actually haven't opened my package from Hacktoberfest last year, so I should probably do another unboxing on that too. You get t-shirts and you get stickers, and I don't know what's in it this year, but you need to create 4 pull requests. Is 4, right? Yes, it is 4.
Not into your own repos, right?
Into any repos, but
Okay.
ideally not your own. Ideally someone else's. So that's why over the next 2 weeks, people should just practice, and then come 1st of October. Thank you, Diraj, for the reminder. Then get contributing to open source and raise some pull requests.
Yes, and feel free to make PRs to my repos if you want. I have lots of repos under my name and also my organization, Faraday Academy, where I work on the curriculum app. So I would love to have any of your PRs if you want to participate in open source and raise issues and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm giving.
Awesome. We will do that. I'll do a live stream, one of my open source live streams. We're going to go through some of your repos and get people raising issues and pull requests and all the rest.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, one of them is live. That last link I posted, the curriculum app, is live and hosted, so you can see it locally and live. And yeah, feel free to raise issues. That would be awesome. Let's see. So Mansour asked again, I think he's asked a couple now, what all tech companies could do for emerging vulnerabilities in the future. Oh, that's what we were kind of talking about with security. And yeah, do you have anything else to say about that?
Yeah, I would probably add one more thing. So like I said, GitHub are doing great around that space, and they're doing improvements all the time. And there are GitHub Actions in the marketplace. There's over 5,000 now, where there are ones around security. I think there's an actual topic, like a kind of section where you can get all the security ones to link to Sneak or link to various other places. And each time you make a code change, then it will do these checks for you. So I would definitely have a look at the. You could just Google GitHub Actions Marketplace. Then when it comes up down the left, there's the options to filter to security, performance notifications, or whatever it is. But yeah, definitely have a look at that, and it's changing all the time.
Okay, so Harshit Singh asked, what are prerequisites for you to start contributing in the open source community?
There is just one.
What?
I don't know if you agree. I don't know if you were going to say something. Sorry, did I interrupt?
I was gonna guess, like, create a GitHub repo? Or no, create a GitHub account, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All you need is the GitHub account. And have a profile picture. I think it's really important. I always get nervous when I get notification from someone who hasn't got a profile picture and it's got like the default GitHub profile picture. I feel like it's a bot or spam or something. So
yeah.
If you don't want it to be a picture of you, put a cartoon character, or like Nathan's got the gopher, or your pet or something. Something a bit unique to you would be good. It doesn't have to be you itself, but that's all you need. Then you can go and comment on people's repos or on your own.
So Rohan just asked, is documenting really great for starting to contribute? So is it really good and useful to contribute documentation?
I think so. I think for multiple reasons. One, it's easy for the person to contribute into documentation. You can make a small pull request, one word, one line, and you can get it merged quickly, and you get that kind of positive feedback, and you know the repos where you want to invest more time. And then also by doing that, it helps somebody else in the community. So I remember once sending a pull request to a project and it didn't get merged, and I completely forgot about it. And 6 months later, I had the same issue because my pull request that I sent was a missing step in documentation in some library. And 6 months later, I came to use this library again, completely forgot about what I had done. I was Googling around and I realized I had an open pull request on this project that was made by me that solved it. And so, yeah, you might help yourself in the future, and you're definitely going to help other people. So I think it's a great place to start for so many reasons.
That's interesting. Yeah, when I make these videos and live streams, sometimes I forget how to do something, and then in the future, I'm like, oh, how do I do this? Oh, I already made a tutorial on it, or I already did a live stream on it. So then I look back at me 6 months ago, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Or I already have a repo or a project. I look at my old repos and projects all the time for that. So that's really cool. People are asking if you're on Twitch.
I used to be. I started on
You
Twitch like
just
3 years
answered.
ago, and I did it for 6 months, and I moved videos and live streams all to YouTube. So I'm all in on YouTube. So you'll find me on there.
Okay.
And let me know what people want to see. I've seen some suggestions from Diraj to get Gwen. I'm trying. I want to do like a view live stream. I am trying to do that. I know she's really busy, so we'll get it added to the list. I'll keep nudging her, reminding her. Don't worry.
Yeah, I did.
You can
I
help
forgot
too.
about it actually, but yeah, we should do intro to Vue because you haven't used Vue before.
I haven't, no.
No.
And I actually have a DevRel from Nux.js, which is the server-side rendering of Vue, I understand, on my live stream in 2 weeks. And Svelte, a few other people are doing some. So yeah, Vue I'd love to have a go at and use. We've got like a simple HTML website at the moment with Tailwind, and we would love to kind of Vueify that to remove the duplication, make components, etc. And yeah, so that's one thing I think we're going to do. Vueify. Cool. Is that a word? I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely a word. There's Vueify. Now I can't remember. It's a one-syllable word, and people use it in all different kinds of ways. But now I can't even think of one. The Vueniverse, like into the Vueniverse, and all of those kind of things. Okay, people are expecting more Python videos. I'm making more Python videos. I'm trying to make as many videos as I can. But yeah, I have a few deployment videos coming out now. So, and then Python and Django and Vue and all of the good stuff.
You did a Docker one recently, right? The GitHub Actions and Docker?
Yeah,
correct?
that was going through my whole process. And it's really the process I've been using at companies for a while. So I thought, and this kind of goes along with what we're saying, like start off with the minimal setup and then build off of it. So it was like, oh, but now I want to set up Ansible, and then after that I'm going to set up autoscaling and Terraform. It's like, no, just do some basics. Just set up Docker and Docker Compose and, DigitalOcean, start from there and automate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be a 10-minute video, and then it turns into 2 25-minute videos. But yeah, I always underestimate that somehow. Mikey said, how do you feel about auto responses in PRs? Ooh, I have my own opinions about those.
I want to hear your opinion. That sounds cool. I've literally just added an auto response very recently. So.
Is there a good balance between using them and responding directly? So, okay, well, I'll start then. So autoresponders. So I think it gets a little frustrating because people see that it's been commented on, and then I feel like they don't look at that PR or issue because it already has a comment. Like, people are more likely to look at the ones without comments, and then because they need to be replied to. So I don't know if there's still a way to like notify maintainers that it's only the bot that's replied. But yeah, unless it's a huge project, I don't know. What are your thoughts about that?
I haven't thought of it that way before. That's quite interesting. I like it that then the person raises an issue or pull request. Maybe if it's their first time, I don't filter mine down to be the first time, but I like people just to get notification that it's being kind of received to the community, as it were, even though it is a bot. Maybe it would be better if I filtered it down so it was just their first issue or pull request to that project. So I do like that, but you raise a good point that if it has in the list, if it has got a comment or something, people might ignore it. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm experimenting. So I'm experimenting with my community. Maybe ask me in like a month, and I'll let you know because we only just put the bot on it like a week ago or something. So it seems to be going good so far. But yeah, ask me in a month, and we'll see. I might change it.
All right. Yeah, I wonder, we have a few more minutes. If you're okay, like, do you have to go right now?
I'm good. I love geeking out with you. So this is brilliant in the community. So we're talking about open source. It's Christmas for me, so I'm happy.
Awesome.
My Christmas and birthday all at once.
Cool. Thank you. Yes, very little communication. Oh, sorry. I thought that was a question. I'm trying to see. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I have to. Oh, nobody's. I like nobody's because he puts question colon at the beginning of his question.
It makes it easier, right?
Yeah, so I can see it. What are your thoughts about forking the project or making your own version of the existing project, assuming it's not against the law and the owner doesn't mind? When do you consider forking it? We kind of touched this before, but I don't know if you officially said when is the point of forkage, like.
So
what's the line?
If you're going to contribute, I would fork it. And I have seen people. I'm guessing because they said about if the maintainer or the author allows it, they're talking about cloning it and repushing it up to your project. I don't see a benefit in that. I see more of a benefit if it's a fork because people can discover. Like GitHub is social coding. It's a bit like Twitter or Instagram, but it's focusing on code. And so by forking the project, people can see in the forks, they can discover your fork and discover what you're up to. That they can see if it's further ahead or if you've made other changes. So I would always say fork the project. And it's up to you if you want to keep it up to date or not.
Well, I
wouldn't try and get around it.
I think personally. What he's saying is not just forking to contribute back to the project, but like forking and making your own project, kind of evolving your own line from there. Like, what's the point? Like, if the person's maybe not maintaining it, not responsive, then you can fork it and make it into your own project, kind of.
I would still fork it rather than trying to download it and clone it and repush it back up to yours and break that connection, because people can discover your fork from the original project, so it just gives you more eyes on your project. And then if anyone does put in a bug fix in the original project, then you could easily just pull the changes down. I guess you can do that even if it isn't a fork by adding the upstream manually, but I would still fork it. I don't see any benefit of trying to hide that it came from somewhere else.
All right. Yeah, there's one. I don't want to say who it is. So there's one prominent YouTuber who got in trouble for doing that. You know who I'm talking about. Yes. everyone knows. Does. Yeah. So
yeah, but that's really bad, right? They'll be known for that for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So,
but that was a special case. Sometimes when a project really isn't being maintained, you want. And this is another thing. So if you fork it, you are now contributing to your own fork. You're making it better. You're maintaining it. But then what if the original person never gets back to you? I mean, what do you do then? Because on your green squares, you're always talking about the green squares. I don't think they count if you're contributing to the forked repo. They just count if you end up merging back into the main repo. Really?
The green squares count if they're in the default branch of any repo.
Even the forked one?
Even the forked one. Okay. I'm going to do a test straight after this live stream, but I'm 99.9% sure that it's in the default branch of any repo, even if it is forked. So, yeah, I think it still counts.
Okay. All right, cool. Someone asked, when are you releasing Faraday Academy caps? I don't even know what that is.
Is it like a
that, yeah.
I want one.
That's just an icon that I chose. I'm hiring a designer to redo it because, I'm not a designer, so I don't even know if that's the right icon I should be using for my YouTube channel. I definitely don't want to make any caps just based off of my designs because that could be disastrous.
Be authentic.
Oh, Jared said, but when you merge the fork into your original, your year of green dots turns into one day. Wow.
So when you which way? So when you make a pull request from your fork into the original repo,
Yeah.
if they squash the commits, because some projects squash the commits, then yes, I have seen that happen where people have done like 30 commits to a pull request, which is way too many, by the way. The pull request is obviously too big. But if they squash it, then yeah, you'll only get one kind of green square for
that's
that
really
week's worth
sad.
of effort.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I keep pull requests. Definitely keep them small, little, and often.
Okay.
I would rather have 10 pull requests with one line changes each, or as long as each one's valuable and works independently, than one pull request with 10 lines that could have been split up. And then you'll get 10 squares. And if you raise an issue for each one, you get 10 more. So that's 20 squares.
Okay. Yeah. So make sure you're raising your issues. Yeah. Thanks, Rohan. Rohan has to leave. DevOps Directive. Thanks everyone who joined us today. I'm going to look for a couple more questions and then I think we're going to call it a day. Most of it is the chat interacting with each other, which is awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And then it's me talking. And then, oh, Jared has one more. Oh, wait, we'll get to Jared and Brian. And then I think that's it. So Jared said, what tips do you have to motivate maintainers to work on your repo? In parentheses, not reviewing PRs or fixing issues. So how do you motivate maintainers to work on your repo?
When you say maintainers, so are they working
on their repo? Yeah.
Right, so if they're neglecting their repo.
Yeah.
I think one thing I've noticed, and as a maintainer myself of hundreds of projects, and yes, a lot of them are neglected, which I do archive them if they are neglected, but it's people contributing to the project, like raising questions. Oh, I didn't quite understand this. I try to get it working. I think motivates me to do more to the project. I think when a project gets no activity from the maintainer or from the community for a long time, then it kind of dies a slow death. So definitely get involved in that conversation. And also a maintainer might re-pick up the project if they notice it's getting activity again. A good thing to check is to close issues and close pull requests. If you see pull requests raised and then closed like a month later, then maybe that's not a project you want to contribute to, but it's a project you might want to fork and pick up yourself. Or you could even ask the contributor, can they add you as a maintainer onto that repo? So therefore you could maintain it or move it to an organization that you both can maintain. Or they might even transfer it to you because their commits and history will still stay there, so they'll still keep all their green squares. Because I have transferred some repos to people where people have said, look, I love this repo. I said, well, I'm not really into my project anymore. I'll just transfer it to you because I don't lose that history. The history is still there. And I add them as a maintainer on the repo under my account. There's a few things that can be done. Definitely have the conversation with the maintainer and see what they say.
Okay. So Brian Jenks, who also has a YouTube channel, shout out to Brian Jenks. He talks about open source, but it's a lot of Linux and Vim stuff, which I love. Vim is awesome. So he says, is there a great template repo that you know of with all these great template files available? I can fork, like contributing, etc.
Oh, there are a few out there that are quite good, but I wouldn't say definitely use them. Maybe look at them and take bits from them. But you're right. I think that's actually a really important one. Oh, okay. You got me thinking. I think that's something that our community has to do because we've got like community actions, we've got templates, and that's a really good idea. Now with GitHub, you can have template repos. So I think that would really help.
So now,
okay, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, now you need to make a template repo, and you also need to make a roadmap. And then you also promised people to do a live PR. And then you also promised me to do a live stream of my repos. So you have a lot of work to do.
I do, but I'll cover that in a week, no problem. I love live streaming on open source stuff because I'm living on GitHub already.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm living on GitHub already. GitHub may be a GitHub star, which means I've been selected out of the over 40 million people on GitHub. 14 of us were selected as GitHub stars. So because I spend so much time on there. So what I want to do is I want to ask people. I know I can't share a link in the chat. So what I'm going to do is I want to share the organization and the repo. So just put github.com in front of it. Hopefully this will still come through. But it's Eddie Jaoude Community Support please raise an issue on that for everything that Gwen just said. The
Okay.
list, 'cause otherwise I'll forget. Or Gwen yourself, feel free to raise an issue, and if all those things, because I will forget. Another thing to point out on that repo, you'll notice right next to Actions, there's a new tab that you've probably never seen before. It's called Discussions. It's a beta feature
What
that
is
our
that?
community have access to.
Oh, you
So
got access
it's
to that? I didn't get access to that.
being a GitHub star, luckily I get access to a lot of
Oh.
beta features. I got code spaces and various other things for quite a few months. So discussions, if anyone's got any projects, open source projects, I better just clarify that want kind of feedback from the community on, go to discussions, and there's a topic with show and tell. Or if you want help, just raise a help. And put a link to say what your project's about, put a link to the project, and people will comment. And discussions are like issues, but they're on steroids. So you've got threaded, so you can have different threads and you can accept answers and all the rest. And you still get your green square for starting a discussion. So everyone go do that for green squares.
1 second. So I posted a link to that in the chat so you can see what he's talking about.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it used to ask me if I wanted to approve it, but now it just doesn't let anyone post links. So I don't know, maybe I banned too many people, or I don't know what happened there.
I think I get the same. They're probably then use security issues
Oh,
or something
okay.
like that.
Okay, so I also posted a link to Brian Jenks' YouTube channel. Definitely check him out. Okay, bye Mauricio. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks, Mikey. So, yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up there. If you have more questions, then please join my Discord. The link's in the description below. Also, I think you have a Discord, Eddie, right?
I do have a Discord, absolutely. But I am in your Discord, so if anyone has any questions, do tag me. But if you have, I have one better than posting it even in my Discord. Feel free to join. We're all about open source. But if you start a discussion, you'll get the green square, and then other people can give their points of view. I think that's really important. It's a bit more asynchronous. But also tag me in Gwen's Discord. I am there, and I will try and help. I might nudge you to raise a discussion.
Okay, I just posted the link again to double down on that. Okay, is there anything else you want to say about Hacktoberfest? Are you doing anything special, anything cool coming up?
I hope to do lots of live streams, not just me contributing, but really encouraging people to contribute. So I will be doing lots of those before Hacktoberfest. I do have a Hacktoberfest practice repo where you just add your name to the list. It is in our community organization. And that will be archived during the month of Hacktoberfest, because I want people doing that during that month. But before October, do practice the workflow, forking a project. If you want to join our GitHub community, just raise an issue on the support repo. There's an option to say get an invite to our GitHub organization. You can do that as well. And any ideas, any feedback, any suggestions from anyone watching, please let me know. Don't have to DM me, do it publicly. I love to get other people's feedback on the subject as well. So we're always learning all the time. That's why being in tech is so much fun. So I guess my strap line that I've recently discovered, I said as a joke and everyone found it funny, an open source a day will keep Eddie away. Otherwise I'm going to start chasing you all to do open source. So that's about it. My YouTube channel is in the description below. And Gwen, thank you so much for having me on your YouTube channel. I've had so much fun today. If you ever want me back, I'm definitely there. It's been great fun, and hopefully we'll get you on my channel soon to do an intro to Vue.
Definitely. We're going to be doing Vue together very soon. So join my Discord, stay updated with it. And yeah, I will be back on Sunday for another live stream on Twitch, and Monday for another video on YouTube. Plus, I'm fixing my last video. Sorry about that. All right. So have a great day, everybody. Thanks.
You've got to tell everyone, subscribe.
Oh yeah.
Give the video a thumbs up.
Subscribe
to Gwen's awesome channel, and thumbs up.
Yeah, give the video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.